everyone, and welcome to PowerStudioTV. This is our 5th episode for the month of May. Tonight, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Daniela Dragnea. Welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Good to see you and to meet you now.
I know, right? It's cool. I'm like a celebrity now.
Well,
almost.
I will ask for an autograph at the end.
All right, perfect. Awesome. So tonight we're gonna dive deep into just innovation in general. Again, of course, this is kind of the topic that we always have, but we try to get different perspectives from different people in industry. And you come from banking and finance primarily, I would say.
Banking, finance, FinTech.
FinTech.
And I would say FinTech. Yeah. You all know me maybe for FinTech. Because it's not always FinTech, but in Romania we have fine, and in many of the cases things are just fine.
Just fine, yeah. It's just okay, There's this it's good, not great.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had several shows already that cover this subject matter. But like I said, I think if we focus more on banking, which is a very traditional, doesn't change very much from what I've noticed. They just kind of keep status quo. The profit margins are not very much from what I know. Maybe you can correct me on some of this.
I will.
Yes. And so I think the appetite for risk, is scrutinized on how much risk, and of course you come from lending too. So
yes.
I'm probably hitting all the right areas there. So how. Of course, innovation is hard in general. It's changing behavior, it's learning new things, it's adopting new skills. It's a fear factor. The list goes on and on and on. Okay. And so it's like it becomes even more challenging when the ability to change and the ability to take on new risks already has a very limited disposition in banking and finance. So what have you experienced in all of this?
I would say that if you would have asked me these questions like maybe 15 years ago, I would say that some things are impossible to do. But because you are asking me this today, I would say that the majority of banks understood what digital transformation is. Already the processes or the main processes that the end user, the client are using are mainly or in a majority of the cases digital. I think all the Romanians have at least one bank with a card that has an app on his phone, and he's able to manage his current account, loan. If he wants maybe to add some add-ons like insurance, whatever he wants, he can do it directly in the app.
So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
It is. Okay, it's not. We are for some banks we are outside the tunnel already. Okay. Considering private individual at least. It's true that there are some smaller banks, for which maybe the process of going digital maybe did not work it, or maybe their clients were a little bit different, and they didn't want that. They are in a more traditional client segment. Mm-hmm. For the majority, or the retail business is happening, I would say it's already digital. And I would say it's also a good sign that already banks are no longer trying to develop and implement by themselves their own solution, but they already go out and they embed a lot of solutions. They go and work with FinTechs. And we have a lot of good examples in the Romanian market because Romanian FinTech that are working with the banks. Or either they go directly, they identify a solution that suits them in the processes. So of course not 100%, but we are there. There are significant steps that they are done. Even if you want, for example, to have like a small chat or to find out something, but you don't want to do it by yourself, you can go to chatbots, and there are also AI. Behind these chatbots, of course, it's at the beginning as in new adoption.
Sure. Yeah.
But there is there. I could not say that maybe artificial intelligence reached completely because you said risk.
Right.
Credit decision.
Yeah.
I still think that, and I'm sure actually not only think that a lot of this is like a risk-based decision. Everything that is risk-based, something, decision, pricing, whatever. But it's there, the steps are there. I'm almost positive that everybody behind the scoring has machine learning, has the ability to understand the behavior of clients, and have the ability exactly to segment and to apply the proper pricing to the proper clients according to the expected behavior that they will have.
So it's
or they might have.
Gotcha. And so, I come from the U.S. I grew up in the U.S. Of course, I was born here, but we have the credit score.
Yeah, of course.
Credit score,
credit bureau.
credit bureau. Yeah. And in the U.S., it tracks everything from your late payments on credit cards to, what assets you own, your car, your house, and all this stuff. And it changes almost every month. So I don't know very much about the credit system in Romania. But in the US, it's like there's a value between, I don't know, 500 and 900 or something. And this is very automated. It's
a FICO score.
FICO, exactly.
Let's name it.
FICO,
because we have
FICO
it the same.
Score. Yes.
It's just that maybe in US FICO score has the ability to kill you or keep you alive.
Oh yeah, you can't do anything.
This is the difference. While in Romania, it only enables you access to better products. I mean, even if you have a lower FICO score, you can still go to get finance for a non-financial banking institution, maybe for a lower amount, but for a higher price.
Of course,
because your FICO is not quite good. But if you have a good FICO correlated with other indicators that you have, like a good income or a good debt income, then you might get either higher amount with a better pricing. So we do have the same. I would say that 100% for private individuals, the credit bureau is interrogated and it's mandatory. And in correlation with the information from income, it creates exactly the
same basis.
The same basis for this. It's true that FICO score in Romania does not consider any type of, billings for utilities or things like this, or not mortgage, for other expenses that you might have, or rent or something like this. But that's why I say in USA it might kill you.
Yes.
I was searching the subject a few years ago, and I saw that you have coaches for FICO.
Yeah, debt relief or whatever, and how to keep your FICO score high. Yeah. But it's pretty common. It's just be a good citizen and pay your bills.
But you have coaches for this. You have coaches. I ended up at one point even in a FICO coaches TikTok area. And there was what?
Yeah.
Just pay in Romania, you just need to pay your installment in time. Yeah. And basically your credit score will improve. Or, for example, it's not good if you have early reimbursement, so you repay in advance.
That's a hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think these systems...
It's not quite like it when you pay in advance.
Well, of course, it kills their interest rate.
Exactly.
So do you think, coming from maybe, let's say, COVID, the moment COVID sort of changed a lot of things. Have you seen advances in these back office systems from how banks operate? Because a lot of the innovation that is happening, you've mentioned, seems to me like it's client facing. But once it passes the outside world and goes into the inside of the bank, seems like that might still have some legacy processes. And they just throw more people at it, or they throw more money on it, or they try to keep it inside.
Your feeling is right.
Yeah.
So I attend a lot of conferences in trying to get people processes to see how the market is going. And for I think 2-3 years, everybody was speaking about digital transformation, onboarding. Everything was onboarding. Yeah. We have digital onboarding. It's okay, but you're not digital. Having only onboarding digital, this does not mean that your product, it's digital. Unless you have the entire steps here for acquisition, onboarding, risk analysis, disbursement, management.
Right, the whole pipeline.
Digital, because these are the steps. You are not really digital. What I can say that I see already steps that are also in this site. There are a lot of APIs that are developed in this in order to tackle the repetitive activities that they are done. I will not say that it's fully implemented, but anyhow, it's visible also for the client that things go faster because you see that everything is processed faster. Each transaction that you have, maybe with your card, or if you just have a normal transfer, let's not take card because it's on other niche. Yeah. But if you go in a branch and you do a traditional payment order, because you can still do this.
Yes.
Do this. And you need to fill in the paper that which is two forms. One is yellow, one is green. If you remember from 10 years ago, it still exists. So you fill in, and then the bank scans the officer puts you a statement, and then he goes with that payment order for the FOIA principals to the responsible of the branch, and only then after he checks, he will scan it, under a machine that will go in back office, and only then somebody will actually validate your operation. But this can happen for bigger amounts or things that require this kind of confirmation. So yes, it's still there, but please go faster because they can OCR that document and they can check automatically this alert faster. So if in front office it may seem that they are doing this manually, it's just like human being, to look at the document.
To talk about,
exactly, ensure everything
politics
is okay.
or something.
Yeah, it's fine, but still, there are some
relationship
anti-fraud IML verification, checkups where you have this answer. But it's normal, But after they submitted it to the office, that documents, in the majority of the cases, of course, I cannot confirm for all, but in the majority of the cases, there are a solution of OCR that takes the data and compares it with the one in the system, and it's able to validate it.
Turn it into digital format much faster, and then it just goes on the highway,
Exactly.
Highway.
So yeah, it's I would say that probably it's still there. It's still a lot of work to do. But also because a lot of traditional banks has legacy systems, and you cannot switch from a legacy system like this. Sure. If you're a FinTech or bank or a neobank that you start now, whatever you can start now and do it yourself. We have a very good example in Romania with Banca Transilvania and Salvent.
Right.
So it was better to create Salvent.
It's better to start from scratch than try to bring.
And they did a very good job. I mean, beyond the alternative, and I'm sure that they will do even more. So if you have a legacy system, you are still somehow trapped in that sector. There are things that you can do, but it requires effort, and this is people on the one hand, it's financing on the other hand, and it's value for money in the end. And we need to see, okay, I will let these things here, and I will create another vehicle, and I will drive the new traffic to that, and I will see how it goes. So somehow financials to be still on the business case, because they are running a business,
Of course, it's got to bring value and matter to the bottom line of the overall organization, of course. So, do you think the mentality of, because of course not in the capital Bucharest, it's fast paced like little New York compared to the rest. I mean, there's a lot of downstairs. I mentioned one of those cash machines that we put in a factory so that the workers can just go get paid very easily and not have to go to an agency or deal with electronic and mobile apps and all this stuff. Like people are still very basic. Very basic. I just want what I want. I don't need to go through all these things. Very good example of when I returned back to Romania in 2019, and I've been living in the States, and I had to redo my, identity card. I had to redo my citizenship because I left in '85, and it took me almost a year trying to for the government agencies to figure out who I am. It was simply like, who are you? Because there was like a document in some drawer at the police department. There was another document at the passport, and all the agencies and all the departments were not connected. They are not connected. And it seems like this is also a very common architecture inside of even companies, where I've noticed, and maybe you can correct me here, but I think that there's like bisericuțe.
Yes, closed systems.
Closed systems. It's like we're all under the same company, but it's like a bunch of different companies and politics and ideas and opinions, and nobody wants to like cross those boundaries. Why is that? Where does that come from?
The law is the same, we can agree on this, it's written the same.
Yes.
But it's important how you read it,
Sure.
This is a difference. The intonation you have when you read it. If you understand when to put the comma and the point, or the exclamation point, whatever, makes a difference.
Yeah.
And maybe some people have different understanding on the same things, which might happen. And it's very true that in a lot of domains, not only this, you can have a procedure which is applicable, I don't know, in different, and a totally different one, which is applicable in, I don't know, this is not flourished, And this is not because the written procedure is not done correctly, is but because the learning system is done from person to person. You know, many times.
Telefonul fără fir.
Exactly. So actually, you know,
awesome.
This is how we do it.
We have the fastest internet in the world, and we're still talking on dial-up.
Yeah, this is the reason, and you will find this not only in I know in state institutions, but it's always the same everywhere.
How is this going to change?
I don't think it's a mindset. I mean, you need drivers in order to change the mindset. And you need not only a driver, but you need somebody that will be almost like a policeman behind.
A policeman or a priest?
However, whatever works for you.
You know, I mean, it's just there's two ways to have someone stand in front of you.
Of course, but I don't know about the priest because you know, in the end, Jesus forgive you. So
of course,
maybe police,
okay.
you will feel some pain now, you know. But that driver, let's not have police,
Sure,
that driver needs to have ability to enforce. I mean, he needs to maybe be a leader, formal or not formal, whatever. But he needs to be able to enforce, monitor, and ensure that the change is executed. And you cannot do this without looking, without monitoring, without paying attention. You need to always be there. So you need this kind of leaders of drivers of change, either in every team or in every department or in every company. And usually change does not just happen because that's why exists resistance to change. And usually change needs to come from above. I mean, from the CEO, whatever, that needs to have a clear vision and to be able to promote it. Here, guys, we are going to do this. It's a cultural thing. I mean, it's a behavior and cultural things. Because how the CEO will act and they will see this, very probably the others, we will mirror somehow, and so on. Then we'll have what? We'll have let's say we'll have a business environment, right? Information officer. Okay, nice, very good. It doesn't need to be only a chief information officer. It needs to become a chief transformation.
That's a good. I've never heard someone say that. That's a good point. Yeah, so, absolutely.
Then, from the CEO, it goes another level. So this, or the chiefs or the CEO,
that's a great perspective.
To adjust to this. And then below, and the plan needs to be executed below, and somebody going up again needs to monitor those KPIs that are happening in the applicable.
Do you think AI is going to help this, like resolve the telephone for a kind of stuff?
Resolve, no, because we are still human. And we still have our own feelings, opinions about people who is kind of like if somebody tell us something to do or not. But it can help improve. This is what I think.
Speed it up.
I mean, speed it up, exactly. Unless you will change the task completely with an artificial intelligence solution.
Copilot.
Exactly. No, it will not. I was reading somewhere, actually, I attended a course, I think this week or last week, I don't remember exactly. And in order to drive change, you need to have a minimum 12 types of communications on the subject, to minimum 7 different channels. So then you find the employee, let's say, or the person in the team, in order to be able to embrace that change, he needs to hear it and to have the message from 12 different sources. So, it's something I have to do. And 7 different sources. Statistically. Okay, it happens. So, this is about.
And it takes 28 days.
No. It can take, embracing change, it's a cycle. This is once. You can I embrace it once, this change because you changed me a button in application or you changed me the core system that I'm working with. It's something that it has a certain recurrence because it's a cycle. So you can implement it and reach a pretty good point with all the stubbornness in the point acceptance and so on. I think it's 6 months in average. But then another cycle starts because, of course, after 6 months of using something, you already see improvements that you might need. And it's already, the need of another change is arising. So you need actually to prepare yourself that changing, it's a constant. I think
you're always changing.
Exactly. The only constant in our life is the changing. It's age, it's clothes, it's everything you look around you. It's you change things, yeah. Even I
Some
don't
people
know,
don't
color
change.
of the hair.
Some people stay the same forever.
At the same, yeah, probably. I know.
But that's the ideal good, good outward positive thinking.
Yeah. And it's good that the person that they hear this change from to have the proper, orientation, like positive mindset,
mentors, community,
exactly.
parents.
Change your attitude. Let me show you how to do it. It's not that hard. Let me show you. And it's a step-by-step drive the things to this. It's not easy to change, or it's not easy. For example, it was not easy for banks that were used to do for 20 years set up an operation in a certain way. To come and say from now on, from tomorrow you will do this. It's a process. Like we like it or not, it's a process in everything. You asked me about pandemics. Yeah. I mean, we all had desktops before the pandemics, and I remember in 1 week I had a laptop.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
and the tools had to change.
The tools changed, and I am a technical person. But when you change me for HP now and you give me a Mac.
Yeah, you got to start over.
I had to start over. I mean, it will take me, 10 minutes to figure out in Excel how to insert a field because I'm not used to that. I have, it's only in your custom when it's the mindset, the custom, how to do it. And tomorrow you have to change. Okay, embrace change. I'm willing to do it, but it will take me some time in order to embrace it and accept it and to become again part of my new me. Because after you have the change, if you want me to go back what it was, I would say, are you crazy?
Yeah,
I cannot go back there.
Yeah.
Look how easy it is this. I never knew.
See, that could be one of the driving factors for why there's city kutsek, because it's like, you get hit with the stick a lot. You're like, okay, forget about it. I'm just going to try to isolate myself from the pain.
Well, what I learned from my experience, if you see Biserikutse, you need to break Biserikutse.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? So this is the basically, I mean, you probably will not be able to break it completely, but you'll still be able to drive a change. You'll be able to infiltrate there and, put it on the table. Actually put the cards and say, okay, girls or boys or whatever, let's see what it is about. And
see, that sort of, it's a skill. I think that's a very, very mastered skill to, people skills too, but it's also analytical skills and communication skills and understanding skills and all kinds of skills. You got to have business skills, technical skills, and vision skills, and all kinds of skills. You got to be superhuman. But, I've, in my 20 years, I spent almost 20 years in the U.S. in corporate America, corporate ladder, went from garage startup all the way to thousands of team members across the U.S. and international. And we were building very complicated systems, and some of the most challenging growth factors that held the company back was not process, was not technology, was not operations, was not policy, was not the CEO. It was somebody at some computer that didn't want to change.
Yeah.
And as soon as that person left, like overnight, everything changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Now that we have, AI and agentic AI without emotion, without health problems, without breaks, and without smoking cigarettes, and we implement, we find those cancerous pain points, sort of resistance, and we replace that. Let's say I'm talking at the board level, executive management, top level management, where we have to make a change. Otherwise, things are going to fall apart. And so you think there's a willingness or because you have to care about people, right? There's also that, passionate empathy side of things where it's like, well, maybe it's our cousin that's sitting there, maybe it's a family member that was put there. Maybe it's somebody that's, not really the best person for that job, but it might, and this is a very specific example, right? And I'm not pointing fingers, but those problems exist. I'm not going to say they don't. Maybe people don't talk about it, but they're real. And it can be all the way up to the government level. It's not necessarily just at the coffee shop. But because I'm saying this from experience, and now we're trying to come up with super intelligence and remote, robot process automation and all these tools to automate the problems and time crunch and efficiency and all this stuff. But really, at the end of the day, everyone is still going to the office. There's still people involved, and there's also people that have to be motivated. So
I get somehow also your questions. I mean, from what you say in the book.
Yeah.
When you have this kind of situation, and I went personally through several restructuring process, tried and implement them. Yeah, so I have all the feelings inside that happened in all the situation, because this is life. Yeah. There is a segmentation usually. I mean, it's exactly the skill. You don't. You either born by the you are born with this one. You go to school and somebody teaches you this skill.
Yeah, this is taught.
Yeah. You go and you have say you will segment. The team members in supporters. Yeah, in the ones that are in the middle, and the ones that are the negative one. And at some point, the ones that you can change, you take your chance and try to change. But with the ones that you know for sure that there is no solution, it's better to cut off somehow the connections as fast as you can in order not to delay other things. Because if there are people there, it doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you don't find solutions for them to sustain them in some other path that they might have.
It doesn't mean fire them. It means like upskill them or change their role or learn about what their passions are and readapt.
Exactly. But from that team that is going through the process of change, there is the need for them to be removed. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's nothing more, nothing less. It's nothing personal. You don't know that person maybe, and if it's your cousin, this is life. He's still your cousin afterwards. I mean,
sure, it's just business.
It's just business, but you cannot avoid this. You can try to avoid. You can believe that you can change it. You could believe that I'm sure I will do it. You will not, because it's sufficient to have only one negative signal in this.
It ruins the bunch.
Exactly.
Right.
I just suggested that from statistics perspective, you need 12 different communication in order to embrace it. Imagine if you have this 12, one that will say no, and then you will have to work double. No, it's not. If you want to do the task of transforming, if you want to do the task of going digital or to change something, you need to have the plan, the steps, and to apply them. It's a process. If you think that you can break everybody, I don't know. If you think you can change the process, you cannot. There are some steps, you just have to follow them. This is the thing.
So these are practical, fundamental, psychological stuff. Maybe HR deals with this more than us, but all of these systematic, operational processes and policies all have to synchronize together, in addition to adding technology on top of that ecosystem, right? And so already, I think it might go beyond most people. Just you have to really have a lot of experience, maybe 10 plus years, in my opinion, to be able to play in this game. Not everyone is good at chess, at the advanced level.
Of course.
Or managing these very complicated systems. And from a resource perspective, general in this country, the skill, because a lot of people have said, we're running out of workers, we're running out of skilled workers, we're running out of programmers. It's, Romania, and, we don't even have very good leadership. Like, where is everybody? And out of where is everybody? Yeah, they're out. They left. They went bye-bye. They went to America. I don't know, or Germany, or wherever. So now, we're left with sort of the crumbs. I don't know.
Not necessarily.
I'm exaggerating. I am exaggerating. I'm not dissing anything. But the talent pool, it's not immense. It's not it's not Shanghai.
Correct.
So we have to re-educate. We have to reinvest in ourselves. That's where I'm getting at. I'm not saying you have to reinvest. You have to re-educate. You have to upskill. Retrain, reorganize, rethink, and all these things. Otherwise, the reality is you're going to stay left behind.
It's true.
And, and so that's why I even started this podcast, because I want to be very real with people and not beat around the bush and make it seem like everything's cool and dandy and we'll just use ChatGPT and everything's going to be fine.
You cannot.
It's not that simple, and there's still real world problems. And, I think the mentality, like I said, the mindset, the desire, the applicability, and the steps being taken are positive. They are starting to.
They are. I mean, at least in the in the circle that I am in,
of course, me too.
And around, I see a lot of interest, in learning new things or improving the current skills. I mean, I can give, for example, my example.
Even your newsletter, you're helping people try to think outside
the box and to see things from a different perspective. And maybe some look at, like I said, there are cycles. Yeah, some things are not new. It happened before, just not to us, to the previous generations, and we were not quite able, or many of us were not quite able to see that we were almost at this to break it again. And this time we should have learned from what happened and choose wisely.
So history repeats itself.
So the history does not repeat itself. Yes, exactly. And I don't know, in 2 weeks on Sunday, I hope you choose wisely. This is very true. Because this is something that we should have learned from history.
Of course.
And learning is something that is continuous. I myself, although I have different years experience, I still go to leadership courses, because there are always some things that need to be refresh in mind, or some new techniques that there are applicable, or some, problem solving techniques, or things that would improve me, at the level of my ability to understand things, or new things that are coming to us, because it's not like you say digital transformation, or you say machine learning, or you say artificial intelligence, and I suddenly know the definition of it and everything.
Sure.
Or don't trust that if I read the definition that ChatGPT will give me, I will understand completely what it is behind. I will understand the main principles and have an idea of what is happening, but to be able to apply those techniques in my activity, I need to go to a training. I need to go to speak with somebody that will explain me how is the proper use of that technology, that I can apply it in my processes, or to suggest it to the companies I work for or work with, or things like this. I mean, it's not just something new come up, or you read a post on LinkedIn, or somebody that generated the post maybe with artificial intelligence, and you say, I know everything about blockchain. And you don't know nothing about blockchain, it's you cannot even explain it.
And that, I think this has been another topic in very previous podcasts. We always end up in the same channel of thought, because I think there's no way out. I mean, even our society is built on originally classroom style education, and you have to practically show people how to apply knowledge.
It's a classroom, or I don't know, or video.
There's a transfer of information. It can be classroom style or video style.
Exactly. You need to see it, because you have also the vision memory that will help you. Then while you are at your computer, you at least start to do something with your mouse. I don't know, maybe you try to mirror what is happening there. And for sure, you'll be able to understand and apply that better. You'll have at least a feeling or a knowledge of what it will be. But just to read, I don't know, 500 words post with a nice picture.
And then get it.
You cannot come to I know everything about machine learning.
So now setting this as a base, and this, the idea is, this is very complicated. This is like advanced PhD, business administration right now. But the next steps, and this is all going back to, how you build innovation and adapt to change and adopt change and motivate change, and then everybody is happy as they're going through change. These are all
should be happy.
Should be happy. Of course. And so all of these practices and knowledge transfer and mentoring and hand-holding and training and all these elements all have to come together. And then I think even then all you're doing is creating an opportunity for it to happen. It's not guaranteed. But I think the more people that are part of that community, that can be enrolled in that community and gone through those steps, and the more people that start believing in the change, you have a much greater chance of accelerating towards the goal, right? Did I say that perfect? Good.
Perfectly. I mean, and I think also this is the moment where we are.
And then we're right there, right? I mean, we are just getting up out of our seats and we're like, okay, let's go.
Exactly. In many fields. Yeah. If you see, there are a lot of new entrepreneurs in Romania, some of them really young, and I'm really happy to see this.
I think they're getting a little bit bored that it's not happening fast enough.
Exactly.
You know, that's what I meant. They're like, okay, like, really? Exactly. They're starting to wake up. They're like, really? This is what we wake up to?
They have the speed in their blood, and they want to break the marks really fast. They want to expand very fast. They're already building products that they see applicable not only inside, here, but only maybe to take it abroad. And I like this about them. It's something that, for example,
it's refreshing.
It's like I did not have that. Yeah. For me, when I was at the age, I had the mindset that I have to finish school and get a job.
Yeah, I have the same parents. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe they know each other, you know? Yeah. And I must admit this, I remember that I went to economic high school and for passé afterwards. Yeah. This was normal, you know? You didn't have like 2 rows where to go.
Yeah.
You only had one. I mean, there was no choice. And you were almost every day, you are learning this because you will have to work in a bank. It was like a mantra that everybody, professors and everybody was telling us. Okay, but we didn't all want to work for a bank, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that if you go to economic college or economic studies, or you study economic or business administration or banking, you need to go to work for a bank.
Right.
Yeah. These things are not equal. In the end,
that's a good point.
Just should develop some skills for you in order to identify what you really like and to develop in that direction using the skills and information that you learn there.
Your own intelligence.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, to develop your critical thinking in the way that when you will maybe have your own coffee shops, and I say shops, not one. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You'll be able to understand your bank, not bank statement, but balance sheets and everything. You will be able to understand how you will be able to find better financing or things like this. You know, this was the scope. The scope is not to produce employers so this was the mentality like 30 years ago. Yeah,
yep.
You go to industrial studies, then you'll go to work in a factory. You'll go to this, then you'll do that. Or you'll go to study international relations if you go to be, flight attendant or something, you know. So we managed to break this, and I really like the new generation how it's choosing to do. It's a combination of choosing to do what they want with balancing their time, and I really like them. They have a great mindset in this.
That's a very high level bird's eye view of what's really happening in this country, because really, like, everyone that's in the workforce right now, let's just say between, 20 and 45 or 40 and 60, are the first generation in the last 20 years, 30, since the revolution, since communism. So before that, it was, like you said, it's just one track. You're either a doctor, a notary, psychiatrist, or you work at a bank or in the government, and you didn't have very many options because it's a very structured environment.
Correct. And you work in the same workplace for 35 years.
Your whole life. If you study art, you're just going to design churches all over Romania. That's what you're just going to make them quiet. Or whatever, or statues for the government, So, and so your whole destiny is set in stone by a very rigorous outcome. A rigorous beginning, rigorous outcome. And now this is the first generation, after going through 10 years of suffering, trying to rebuild freedom. Now we have like 10 or 15 years of applying free commerce and freedom and free will, and and at the same time we're getting inundated by innovation that our parents never even saw.
But because of this, we are able to apply to have digital banking.
Well, we're brilliant.
We were able to have embedded insurance.
Absolutely.
we are able to have revenue-based loans. Yeah. We are able to have a lot of entrepreneurs that are into e-commerce. We have one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in Europe. Yeah, that it's having businesses in Romania, Hungary, and so on. I mean, there are so many good examples that drive to this. It's good, yeah. And also because they split that, okay, I study something, but I go in something that is like a domain, and you take information from one domain to another.
It's cross-pollinating, flourishing.
Exactly. You encourage everything to transform in order to create proper products for other people. Yeah.
Yep.
Because maybe we discussed so far about digital transformation, behavior, and everything, but in direction with private individuals. But I think that there are similar processes. There should be similar processes in accessibility for SMEs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we are not quite still there.
Yeah.
On SME side, it's still like not more than brief, but it's better.
Yeah.
But not there. There are still a lot of improvement that can be done. But why we reach this? It's because all these young entrepreneurs or people that have these businesses are want to have in their life the same utility as private, in the banking system. What I receive from my account as a private individual, I want to have my company, and I don't have different user passwords, whatever, for my account, personal account, for my business account, for whatever account. I want to have everything in one app. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if I could, I want to have only one card, and through a choice that I make to, I know when I do the payment, I want the withdrawal to be done from that certain account. I mean, it's an option. When I validated the transaction, validated from the business account or from the personal account. This is the expectation. And we are in the margin to create this because the expectation exists, and because the clients request it, and because the sector flourished, and because we need more. Now, of course, you may say that I'm only talking about the good things. It might seem, but I think it's needed,
You're right on track. I mean, that want, I think, is all the way up at the European Union level. So there is Digital ID initiative, the European Digital ID to digitize all documents. There's approval of huge amounts of funding that have been allocated for digitization to go all under a single identity. Like I said in the beginning, it's all about the identity. Who are you? And once you know who you are, what you want, and what you want to do, and it's all connected and interconnected, like my passport, when I came to the country, I had to go there, and I had to go there, and I had to do this. And if everything was united, everybody had accessibility at the fingertips, then that flow of information and what you do with it, because now we all have the appetite, and the next generation is like, can't wait to, use all this freedom and information and knowledge, like our own little AI robots.
Of course.
Right? And then you're set free in the world to go, build and be creative and flourish and grow to an unlimited amount of levels. So, but this is going to require leadership. This is going to require very strong, very skilled, experienced leadership to guide this, because it's like you turn on, you're ready to take off, you're in the jet, and the pilots are just full forward, and then, you forget to, I don't know, lift the flaps or, take off, and then you just hit a wall. Like, it's risky.
It's risky, but here's come, and I will tell you what it is about. It's about trust. If I give you access and I will have everything on my digital ID, I will need to ensure, or do need to ensure that you have the proper capability to keep me safe.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, to be able to apply the regulation behind not only the terms give access, make transfer, but only in terms of security, that is the key. I mean, it took a while to build the regulation because it took a while to understand which is the level of security that should be applied, which technology should be applied to ensure that all the information there will be secure, because it's not that easy. You can hack almost everything, and for sure after they will have it.
Yeah.
Some even smarter guys will find even smarter guys that will do something, but you need the level of trust that the product is building, that is built, is providing you, the safe environment and the security that you put all your data there. Because it was also a movie or something a few years ago that a person totally lost their identity.
Yeah, I think there's several movies like that.
So imagine this, to feel outside your system or your home or whatever, because let's say you have a smart house or whatever, and you feel you are locked down. I mean, things like this should be 100% avoided. I don't know if it will happen or not, like in the movie.
Sure.
But usually, you know, I mean, even in Star Trek, they have tablets and look where we are.
Yep, of course.
Usually, I think the safe part, the trust part is the concern in embracing this change. It will be embraced probably by you, by me, that we have a certain level of understanding how these things are done, but to be able to make others embrace it that are more, let's say, suspicious about things, it will be harder. You need to prove actually that there are measures that will prevent all these security breaches.
Yeah, because then you halt it, and then you go back into, like you said, you're changing the computer to a laptop, and it's like, oh, that's cool, but then you hit all these problems, and it's like, okay, you have all this freedom, but then your identity gets stolen, and your money gets stolen, and are you helping me or are you hurting me? And it causes doubt.
Exactly.
Doubt. Should I keep innovating? Should I keep changing? Because every time I do, I get hit in the face.
Exactly. Cybersecurity and security, I think it's at top. At top when you discuss digital transformation, when you discuss integrating a product, or you discuss embedding the product, or you discuss anything that's intersecting with your business, the security of that product that you are embedding or integrating, it's one of the first questions that you fundamentally that needs to pop up, and you cannot go behind. You need to press it and things like this in order to ensure that you don't have any flaws in the process, because a minor flaw,
you lose it all.
It's another.
You
cannot keep it anymore. So we like the innovation. Maybe we always talk about this, super mega extra positive thing. But behind there are also worries. It's normal to have them, because we wouldn't have them. We
wouldn't even be here.
But it's important to also always mention them, that to be sure that behind the innovation there were some people that think, and it's something that also needs to be shown. And it's not trust me.
Right.
My password is Aaron. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's not like this. It's you just need to prove that you have the proper certification and security level. I know tested with proper people, whatever, and it will be embraced sooner or later. Did you think, like we discussed 15 years ago, that we will have to do identification of the processes?
Yeah, I mean,
did you think we'd have video banking?
I didn't think we'd have phones without buttons. So
so now it's a standard. Now it's a standard. I mean, everything. I think that everything that we may come to think about it, if you do the proper steps, you might have it.
Yeah, you might have a chance. Thank you so much. We're running out of time, so I think we covered a whole bunch of stuff. We'll just be giving out diplomas after everyone watches this. So I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for all the knowledge you've shared. And make sure you guys like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stick around for episode 6, probably coming up next week. Thank you very much, and have a good night or have a good day.
Bye.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.